RRU and General Rana for giving me this opportunity to address this August gathering, very knowledgeable gathering. I'm also very happy to come to Hyderabad because it is here that almost exactly 50 years back I underwent my training. We have the police academy here, which had shifted in 74. And ours was the first batch to have its full training here in Hyderabad. It used to be very dry land, and our director was a very tough person. He was very fond of Shramdan. So we were asked to do Shramdan, and I remember we were asked to dig up a place for swimming pool. So we spent the whole year for making this swimming pool. But when I visited Hyderabad after about 8 or 10 years, I found that the swimming pool had been made at some other place. so I presume that the next 2-3 batches would have filled up the place that we had dug up. Anyway, I'm very grateful to be coming here and talking to all of you. Actually, there's hardly anything left for me to talk. My 2 previous speakers have covered almost everything. I intended to talk about geopolitics. I intended to talk about terrorism. I intended to talk about role of China in the neighborhood. So what I'll do is I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll quickly go through. I'll talk first about terrorism and terrorism in the region, and then talk a bit about Chinese role again in our neighborhood. So I'll be flipping the slides because I want to take up the terrorism part first. Yeah. So it has already been covered, and I'm sure that all of you know about role of Pakistan, which is there in spawning terrorism. Having lived in Pakistan for 4 years, I would tell you some of my personal experiences. You know, you can have a look at this thing, but the thinking in Pakistan is very different. They consider India as a Hindu country. They say whether Kashmir is with us or with you would not have mattered if you were not a Hindu country. Now, any amount of telling them that we have more Muslims living in India than in Pakistan will not change the matters. That is the thinking there. Number 2, the kind of influence, the kind of power that the army wields there. If you look at the society of Pakistan, you have the army and the ISI at the top. Then you have the bureaucracy, diplomats, businessmen, second level. Then you have the journalists and this thing, and at the bottom is the public, common public. I remember when I was there, I'll keep flipping these things, you can just have a look. When I was there was a feeling that let's improve or let's increase people-to-people contact so that people become more friendlier towards India. It doesn't matter, because when it comes to issue of India, it is not the common people, and I can tell you common people want better relations with India. It's the army, it is the ISI which will not allow. And I'd like to quote an example, quote an incident, what happened. You have this Khyber Pass. So it's about, I don't know if anybody has visited Pakistan. Anyone present here? Oh, you have visited, okay, so you will know. So in Khyber Pass, it's about 3 hours drive, 3 or 3.5 hours drive from Islamabad. So the embassy decided that all the children and ladies will go and visit Khyber Pass, and you can see Afghanistan on the other side, Jalalabad and all those things. So we went there. We reached there around 11:45 or 12 o'clock, started around 9 o'clock from Islamabad. Now ISI follows you everywhere. Actually all the telephones, everything are tapped, and if you have to go out of Islamabad, you have to take permission. The embassy has to take permission to go out of Islamabad. So we reached there, and there's a post called Michni Post. So we reached the Michni Post. It's an army post, and then army officer will be there. He will explain that this is this, and that is Jalalabad. And Khyber Pass is the pass through which all these invaders came to India. It's an important thing. So this fellow was explaining it to us, all the ladies and children, we were there. When the ISI caught up, and he said, why are you explaining it to them? They are Indians. So in the middle of this thing, this fellow stopped. He said, sorry, you have to go back. We said, no, we have come all the way from Islamabad. Can we stay here for 10-15 minutes, go to the washroom? And he said, no, you have to go back. So we returned. On our return, we stopped at a petrol pump. So there was this huge Pathan who was sleeping. This was about 12:31. He was sleeping there. So we woke him up and we said, can we stay here for 10 minutes? We have ladies and children, and we'll just stay here for 10 minutes and go. So he said, who are you? So we explained, we are Indians, we have come from embassy and all. So he said, that what is the hurry? Why only 10 minutes? He said, no, you see these ISI, they will harass you, so we don't want you to be harassed. He said, just wait. So he was sleeping outside in the petrol pump. He went inside, came out with an AK-47. And he said, let me see who stops. I will sort out these ISI. And he made sure that we stayed there. We had our lunch there. That is the common sentiments. Of course, this is quite some time back. But that is the common sentiments, and I can narrate number of incidents where the Pakistanis would be very friendly with you. But when it comes to the crunch, these people have no say. They dare not talk about any betterment of relations with India. That is unfortunate reality in Pakistan. An inspector of the ISI is more important than a minister of the government of Pakistan. And I can again narrate personal incidents when I face those situations. So as we all know, it is the army, the kind of privileges, Musharraf took over, so his property was announced. And we calculated at that time, this is 99, it was 28 crores of property officially given to him. Because as you would know, when a lieutenant becomes captain, he's given a plot of land. Captain becomes a major, again given a house. So legally, they are given all these things. So by the time he becomes a general, he has a huge property. Bajwa, when he retired, he is reportedly supposed to have 6 billion worth of property. So why would army give away this privileges? They will never. The kind of influence that they. Yeah. West has always condoned army. That is the unfortunate part. Whether it is the army, whether it is A.Q. Khan, whether it is Osama bin Laden, Abbottabad. I've had the chance of going to Abbottabad. Abbottabad is a city where you cannot cross 500 yards before coming across a checkpoint of the army. And Pakistan said, no, we did not know that Osama bin Laden was living here. And West accepted it. And even now what we are seeing, that IMF is giving them loan, $7 billion worth of loan is being given to Pakistan, and they will. Yes, the change is that there is division within the army now, as what we saw when Imran Khan was removed. The Lahore Corps commander, his house was burnt, and he was eventually sacked. DGISI is currently being prosecuted. So that's a change. There seems to be division within Pakistan ruling elite, and that is the Punjabi elite. So there seems to be some division in that. So it has all led to, see what happened is that from 47 onwards, Pakistan created this bogey of enemy of India. So army became important. They also created the bogey of Islam being in danger, and particularly during Ziaul Haq's time. So Islam became more and more, initially from this thing to fundamentalists, from fundamentalists to terrorism. So on these two planks, Pakistan has grown, army and Islam. And it has led to all kinds of terrorist groups. They find it very easy, instead of fighting with the army, which they have fought and always defeated, they find it very cheap option to keep sending terrorists. My previous speaker has already mentioned about the violence that is taking place in Pakistan itself. You know, if you spawn terrorism, it will bite you also. It's exactly what is happening to them. Other area of concern is Afghanistan. There's no change in the thinking in Afghanistan. Whatever they were in from 98 to 2001, there's no change. Whether it's a question of women, whether it's a question of society, whatever West may say, whatever Doha agreement they would have signed, they have not changed. They continue with their same policies. That's how they are continuing. The number of terrorist groups continue to be operating from there. Number of important leaders have been, terrorist leaders have been caught from there. But as far as Afghanistan is concerned, but the good thing for us is that Afghanistan is now biting Pakistan itself now. So the groups in Afghanistan, which Pakistan at one time spawned, which Pakistan one time encouraged, are now biting back Pakistan. Yes, of course, if terrorism is prospering in this region, Pakistan, Afghanistan, then we have to be extremely careful, because there have been some instances in Kashmir where the weapons left behind by the Americans were found. Weapons left by Americans in Afghanistan were found in Kashmir. So whether these weapons can... Talking about Bangladesh, again my previous speakers have already spoken about Bangladesh. Major concern for us is that whether Bangladesh is also going Pakistan way. The kind of advisors which Yunus has taken in, belonging to particular Islamist or rather terrorist groups, that's very concerning. And so you have the memory of Bangabandhu, or that memory of 1971 war. That is, efforts are being to erase that memory, this thing. In Bangladesh so far, the Bengali, the culture was considered as, dominant than Islam. The efforts are being made to make Islam as more important than Bengali. That is what is the trend that we see. This is what is happening. I'm sure all of you are aware that this is what is happening in. So fundamentalism seems to be taking place more and more in Bangladesh. Whether, as and when the elections are held, whether whichever party comes to power will reverse or will be able to reverse this trend will have to be seen. Because once this trend gets moving, gets established, whether they will be able to reverse it will have to be seen. And whether the current regime is willing to, because they keep talking about holding the elections in next 6 months or 1 year, but they do not give a specific date. So again, number of terrorist groups which were already there. I would not say that these are new groups. These groups were there in Bangladesh even earlier. So they have become more active now, more getting more patronage, state patronage now. Rohingya issue was mentioned by my previous speaker. This is, I think, a cause of serious concern. And I was talking to somebody in Manipur only yesterday, and he mentioned to me that number of Rohingyas have been found in Manipur also. So that's another one concern that we have. I will not go into the history of the Rohingya, this thing, but here you have almost 1 million of Rohingyas living in various camps in Bangladesh. They have nowhere to go. They cannot go back to Myanmar. Myanmar is not willing to take them. No country is willing to take them. Bangladesh is keeping them reluctantly. Most vulnerable. On the other hand, you have groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, who are looking for recruits. So these are the persons who are readily available or most vulnerable to be recruited. And Bangladesh, in fact, I go to address the civil servants of Bangladesh. They used to come earlier to Mussoorie. They have stopped now. Invariably, they will ask me, why doesn't India take these Rohingyas? We can't afford. India is such a big country and all kinds of things that India. But of course, not legally, but illegally, there have been efforts to push these people to India. And a number of them are there, and I think I'll show it to you. These are the routes which the Rohingyas take for coming towards India. So we already have about 40,000 which are documented Rohingyas. Unofficially, there are about 100,000 Rohingyas. They are in different camps, including living in, I think even in Hyderabad they have. In Bangalore, certainly they have a camp. In Jammu, they have a camp. In Delhi, they have a camp. So they are living in various camps. Unfortunately, there's no proper guarding or proper kind of documentation of these Rohingyas. Sorry. So this is another cause of concern for us, and they are vulnerable to terrorism. As it is, they are fighting amongst themselves. In the camps, you have all kinds of groups which have been created, and then they keep fighting. I'll again not go into the details. What was the role of Pakistan in the creation of Rohingya groups, and how it was involved in. Again, Myanmar has been covered. Our current concern about Myanmar is that you have a large number of these chins at the Mizoram border. About 50,000 of them have come into Mizoram. 5,000-6,000 of them had also come to Manipur. So whether these people will be able to go back or not, what will happen to them, the kind of fight which is going on just across the border in Mizoram, in the Rakhine area, in the Chin area, whether it's going to affect us, that is again, that's an area of concern. China, of course, is the dominating factor in Myanmar. Myanmar has, in my opinion, has been very, very unlucky. Right from the time of its independence in 1948, it was China who kind of got into Myanmar. And since then, again, I'll not go into the history of how this thing, but it is, Myanmaris are reluctant kind of into the lap of China, unlike Pakistan, which is most willing to be with China. Myanmaris hate Chinese, but they have no way, because the Chinese support Myanmar in the international fora, UN, wherever, but at the same time, give weapons to all the EAOs, ethnic armed organizations. So they are playing a double role. Again, we had been talking about narcotics and drugs in Myanmar in the earlier session. I'll skip this. Sri Lanka, again, again it has been spoken about. Maldives, unfortunate, it's a small country, 400,000 population, and 200 people joined ISIS. Nasheed himself mentioned it. In fact, he made a request to Government of India that whenever these Maldivians go to Syria or wherever, India should help them, not allow them to go. Because this highest percentage-wise, Maldivians is the... now I will come back, sorry. Can you get it back? I'll go to the Chinese system. I'll very quickly run through role of China in the neighborhood. Just 10 minutes more. Can you go to the beginning? Yes, okay. I'm skipping this. Yeah. So, as one of my previous speakers mentioned, Pakistan we can handle, we will handle. China is the major concern. And the way China is trying to surround us from all over, across this thing, that is our major concern. China is trying to promote that their system of governance is better than the democratic system. And unfortunately, some countries, including in our neighborhood and certainly in African nations, they've started believing it, that that kind of a system is better. See how China has progressed. So that's ideologically Chinese, this thing. Again, we know the kind of economic diplomacy or economic encirclement which the Chinese are doing, whether it is Hambantota port, whether it is port in Sri Lanka, whether it is Gwadar port. Chinese are going there, investing money. If those countries are not able to repay, then they go and take over. This is what they seem to be doing. So they have this debt diplomacy, natural resources, geopolitics. See, what Chinese are doing is, let me just go to the next one. What the Chinese do is, they go to a particular country, say, and offer them that we will have this infrastructure project for you, we'll have this project for you, and they'll give very attractive terms for those projects. Like in Nepal, like in Bangladesh, Pakistan is of course most willing to have all these, Sri Lanka, and they will kind of enter into those countries. Once they enter those countries, then they'll try to capture the political leadership. And they have all kinds of, in fact, one of the previous ministers of Bangladesh told me that Chinese came to her office saying with a briefcase full of money, saying that this particular IT project should be given to them. She refused. She was threatened. She was threatened, if you don't get this project to us, within 2 days you will be removed. And this is Sheikh Hasina's time, not the current government. And sure enough, she was removed in 2 days. So that is the kind of influence the Chinese have started wielding. Yes, as I mentioned, equipment supplier, infrastructure projects, capturing think tanks, academics, students. In Nepal, they told me that fertilizer to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka refused to accept it, and they returned the ship back to China. China refused to take the ship back, forced Sri Lanka to pay the damages for the return of the ship, and forced Sri Lanka to accept those contaminated fertilizers. So these are the high-handedness of the... so I will... Again, I'll not go into the details of how Chinese influence is in Pakistan. Pakistan, I'll tell you, I went to the market in Pakistan and I purchased small things. And this is again long back. The nails were very expensive, ordinary nails which you use for, very expensive. So I asked them that, why these nails are so expensive? They told me they all come from China. So, even that kind of market that they have captured. And now we hear that, like in Myanmar, Pakistan seems to have agreed to have a joint security force in Pakistan, which will protect the Chinese. There are reportedly about 100,000 Chinese living in Pakistan, in which about 40,000 are only for CPEC. And so these people will be protecting. It has grave implications for us, because if you have these security forces, which are part of PLA, or at least retired PLA, and if they are all along the CPEC, which is just across the border at some places. Again, China is very active in, see what China does is, whichever countries are difficult to manage, whether it is Afghanistan, whether it is Myanmar, right now you can say even Bangladesh, they would like them to remain destabilized so that the other countries do not come. Myanmar, nobody is willing to go, China is there. Afghanistan, nobody is willing to go, China is there. There they exploit the resources. There they take over the whole this thing. Nepal, it has already been spoken about Nepal. I'm sure all of you must have visited, most of you must have visited, and you would have seen the difference in Nepal. Even the names of the shops are now written in Mandarin. The menu cards are in Mandarin now. That is the major difference in last 15, 20 years in Nepal. Maldives again has been spoken to. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much.